I'm going to be talking about drilling in the Arctic National Wildlife Reserve. The Arctic National Wildlife Reserve is in the northeastern part of Alaska, and President Eisenhower designated 8.9 million acres as a wildlife refuge. This means that it can never be developed or drilled on. It's for nature. In 1980, Congress expanded that refuge to 19 million acres. But what they did is they left out 1.5 million acres of the coastal plain that had oil. So if Congress passes a bill, you are allowed to drill and develop those 1.5 million acres. The downside to that is that there's approximately 200 animals that reside in those 1.5 million acres. The two most at danger are the Porcupine River caribou and the muck ox. In addition to that, the oil from the refuge would not make a significant impact on our need for foreign oil. There have been 12 attempts by Republican-led House of Representatives to allow drilling. None of those have succeeded. The U.S. Geological Survey has found that the oil is not in just one location. It is spread out through 30 wells. This means that there will be more roads needed, construction, drilling equipment, noise, and disruption of the habitat. They do not know exactly how much oil is in there until they go, but so they have estimated it as 7.7 billion gallons. The Porcupine River caribou use the coastal plain as feeding ground for their return from migration. They also use it as a calving area. There are 120,000 caribou that use that area, and approximately 30,000 pregnant cows use that area. If drilling were to be permitted, it would result in loss of weight for the pregnant cows and an 8.2% in decline of survival rate for the young calves. The musk ox use the coastal plain year-round. They are very sedentary animals, especially during the winter. They basically stay put and hibernate to preserve energy and survive the extreme winter. The noise and drilling and general ruckus that would be made from drilling would cause considerable damage to their already small populations by forcing them to move their habitat. Multiple U.S. studies have stated that the musk ox would be detrimental to them. Another downside of drilling in the coastal plain for oil would be a very insignificant amount of change to our dependency on foreign oil. It would take 10 years for the oil in the Arctic National Wildlife Refuge to be used, and it would not meet its peak until 2029. That means it would take 16 years to even make a big impact. And once that impact is made, it would only be 2%. We have a 62% dependency on foreign oil right now. The Arctic Reserve would only drop it down to 60%, according to the National Resources Defense Council. The U.S. Energy Information Agency has reported that Americans would save less than 4 cents a gallon in 20 years. That's a very minimal impact on our gas usage. In addition to the small amount of oil that would be gained from the drilling in the Arctic, there has been a slow increase in hybrid and electric vehicles. Last year alone, in 2012, there was a 228% increase in the purchase of plug-in cars alone. Every year, cars are getting more gas efficient and hybrid, eventually resulting in less oil usage. Drilling for the oil in the Arctic National Wildlife Reserve is dangerous to the 200 animals living there and is unneeded to our oil usage.
All right, Stephanie, I think the proposition needs to be a little bit sharper. I know what the subject is, I know your general attitude on the subject, but the claim of fact that you're asking us to believe at the end that the two supporting points that you're talking about are supposed to fit, I have a hard time picking out exactly what that is. Now, the two main issues that you're talking about are the threat to the animals and the absence of need for the oil. That's okay. How do those two things fit together, and what is the general proposition that they fit under? That's the thing that's a little unclear. Also, I think that you roll into those 2 points kind of accidentally as opposed to structuring them very clearly. You bounce back and forth, for instance, on the need issue and the animal issue in the first section of the speech, and then when there is a focus on the animals that are being threatened, I thought that that was a fairly distinct point. And toward the end, when you talk about the need issue, then it was a fairly distinct point. Actually, I thought your summary had a clearer structure than the beginning of the speech did. The citation of information needs to be a little bit more thorough. We got a lot of conclusionary pieces of information about the animals. Like you presented some statistic about the number of cows that would disappear, or the calves that wouldn't survive to adulthood, and I don't know where that came from. Later on, there's the reference is some studies have said that the muskox would be hurt by this, and I don't know who those studies were done by. I don't know how big the impact is. I don't know what credibility to give it, so that seems a little bit problematic to me. So the source citation on the evidence is problematic. I think some of the information you've got is pretty good. I get the impression that I'm hearing some claims that are being made by environmental groups. What I need is the proof for those claims a little bit more than just the claims themselves. All right, thank you.